We are recording.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the Social Media Suck Show. I'm your host, Sebastian Rusk. As always, welcome to the show. This week, I've got my trusty co-host and very brilliant social media influencer. I'm very humbled to be in her presence this week. Miss Rebekah Radice is back with us. She joined the podcast, I think it was a good 2 years ago.
It was a while ago. God, 2 years ago? I didn't realize it was that long ago. Wow.
Well, we were still really excited about Google+, so I'm assuming it was at least 2 years ago. Did I just say that?
Ah, ouch. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of that, we might as well just start the show off with that. I get asked that question constantly. Sebastian, what is the lifespan of Google+? And I never have an answer for it other than it replaced a lot of things and became integrated into a lot of things, i.e. YouTube, Google Places, etc. for small businesses. So I don't know that they could just completely do away with it. But what have been your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, isn't it, to have watched the evolution, and as an early adopter to Google+, you're right. I was very high on it. It was a phenomenal place when it really just first got started, and then over, you know, that several year period where we made, gosh, just phenomenal connections over there. It was just a wonderful space to get to know people that I would have never been able to meet otherwise. And we've seen it shift and change multiple times as Google has made quite a few changes. And I think for a while there, we were all a little iffy as to whether or not it was truly going to stick around. But at this point, I don't think they're going to scrap it. I don't think it's going to ever go away altogether. But it's definitely the feeling of that social network has definitely changed. I think a lot of people lost heart, kind of lost faith in the environment, the community itself. So we've seen a pretty big drop off in the amount of engagement and interaction. The growth has definitely stagnated over there, which is just really unfortunate because, as I said, I was just a huge proponent of it. Loved Google Plus for a long time. Still do. Still see enormous value in it, but certainly not the value that, we saw initially when there was that big growth movement. People that I think were a little disheartened with Facebook, with all of the changes that had happened over there. There was that big rush over there, and we saw just a wonderful community that grew really rapidly. And unfortunately, that has definitely subsided. But yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's just going to continue to change and evolve. And those that have stuck around are definitely seeing the benefits of those continued relationships. Obviously, with the tie to, Google, we've got the SEO value that continues there. That's changed as well. But still definitely.
How so? Because I usually, that's the quick answer. That's the quick answer that I give when asked about that. The bottom line is Google Plus is owned by Google, who dominates the search space along with Facebook. We can safely say now, and because of the fact that you're creating content, it is getting indexed on Google. It is worth your time to consider that a platform option.
Well, and that's always been, I work with, small business owners, entrepreneurs all the time that ask that exact question of, what is the point to Google Plus? And if nothing else, it's a great way to get that content indexed by Google, to put it out there in front of a larger audience, an audience that you're probably not going to find on Facebook or Twitter or even here on Blab. And that was the beauty in it for me, is that it allowed me to tap into a market I previously hadn't been able to tap into. So I think there are multiple different benefits to it, but the SEO one, yeah, still far and away probably the number one for a lot of people.
So a total ADD moment here. I saw a little red button. There is a record feature on your phone. So
oh, cool.
But I appreciate your teamwork because we're recording because you pressed the record button. So you see how that works?
You got it. Yep.
That was the most attractive thing to Blab was that I was like, wait a second. Not only do we get this real, transparent, authentic conversation happening, right? People can jump in, ask questions, engage, talk, etc. But the most important thing is they send you the archive of the audio and of the video. You can create a blog post, YouTube content, Facebook content, and upload it to iTunes for your podcast. I got 4 pieces of content, and I invest 1 hour a week. 1 hour trying to get on the Blab, and then the other hour doing the Blab. But no, big shout out to the Blab team. I love those guys. They've done a great job really diving into the sandbox of their community and saying, hey, we're here to help. I mean, you talk about real-time tech support, type in add help and someone's in here instantly, which is
That's awesome. Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, so you have, last time we talked, you were, I'm going to close the seat out for here right now, folks. Cause this is my show and, we're going to open it up a little bit later.
And you can do whatever you want, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's one of the reasons I started this show is that I run the show here. I get so many crazy ideas. I've been watching Stephen Colbert's new show, taking over the Late Show. And I was never a fan of his before. I don't know why, but I'm just now he's kind of growing on me. But like the ability, like the way to connect to the audience and the humor and like just the way of everything. I thought this is so. And he had Carol Burnett on the other night.
Oh, and I'm sorry I missed that.
You got to pull it up on demand or DVR or something. Or it's online somewhere, Hulu, I don't know what. But Carol Burnett was on, and he said he was talking about the first time she performed in the Ed Sullivan Theater. And she's like, it was 1958, and she said Jimmy Stewart was her last guest on her show before the show ended, and she was a huge fan, huge role model, etc. Well, Kevin Spacey came out, who was already on the show, and read a poem to her and impersonated Jimmy Stewart, and she was in tears. It was just
a dog poem.
Yes, it was awesome. He's like, every now and then, I like to read a poem when I'm on the Tonight Show. Anyway, no, it was really a classic moment. But I extract all kinds of awesome ideas just based on how you connect with the audience and what you're able to specific topics. And this day and age, we can do this. I mean, this is instant talk show right here. This is, I'm trying to get, you hear me, universe? I'm trying to get discovered here. Like if Honey Boo Boo made it, there is room for my bow tie in Hollywood. So, but it's crazy how we're all now content creators. We're all the studio now. We're all the actual production and being able to do it. It's all at our fingertips now. Where is all this going? I think brands are going to start to integrate this into what the brands that get it are going to start to integrate this into the infrastructure and what they do, and being able to touch and feel the inner workings of the brand and the leadership and the C-suite, et cetera. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get people there, but look at all the cool things that have already started to happen. Like, Mitch Jackson, streaminglawyer.com. He's all in the social media space and has been a trial attorney for 25 years. He's down in Orange County. And, Chef Dennis, he's got one camera on his food and the other camera on what he's going to cook there. I mean, the ideas that have already started, and we've only been doing this 6 months, if that. Yeah. So it's bananas.
Yeah, live streaming, you're right. It is amazing, the opportunities that it does provide, no matter what size of company you are, from that, small business to that local mom and pop to that entrepreneur to the big brands. It's going to be those early adopters, those ones that really get the power of this face-to-face interaction. It's such a different medium and opportunity when you can engage with customers in real time, when you can just listen to their needs, to their concerns, to whatever it is that you're speaking to on a daily basis. You're able to take that, I think, to a whole different level. You talked about how we had chatted 2 years ago on podcasts, And I've been a huge fan of podcasts for years and years and years. And they made that huge, resurgence, that comeback in the last several years, which has been really exciting for me to see that, now we've got so many different forms of media, so many different ways that we can tap into that customer base or that market, as I spoke about earlier, that maybe we hadn't been able to penetrate previously, but now all of a sudden, we're able to reach those people that are in their cars and looking for fantastic podcasts that they can listen to on their commute, or, hanging out and they've got an extra hour at lunch that they can hang out on a blab. So it's just, the possibilities in my opinion are just, the sky is the limit in what we can do with this.
Really are. And so what's been the most exciting thing that you've done with live streaming since all this stuff came about?
That's a great question. I would say, for me, it's just been jumping in, diving in, and dipping my toe in the water. For me, it's interesting because Periscope, I really struggled with for some weird reason.
I still do.
I have no aversion to video whatsoever, if you can't tell. There's no fear of the camera or anything like that. But I think it was the fact that it was that feeling of just speaking to myself, as opposed to this format, which I loved, Google Hangouts, very similar format, because you've got that interaction. You're able to actually pull the audience in. It's just a very different feel to it. So I was really excited when Blab came on board, and Subi Zimmerman pulled me in on her first one. I think she did. I'd been on Blab for maybe 2 days, and I was like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're having fun doing it. And here we are. So it's just been fun diving in.
Yeah, it really, and that's what I've done. I called it randomly barging into Blabs when this first thing started, in relevant conversations that I could go, and then I start meeting people, and the next thing I know, you've got new connections, and then which lead to new people like guests that can be on your show and exchanging ideas, and it's been a very cool test bed during this whole beginning stage, because there's been a lot of, my goodness, they put together a Periscope summit. They're putting the second one together. This happened in January. Ryan Bell and Kathy and those guys that have really grabbed the bull by the horns and been the true real thought leaders, if there's even any really in this early space, because it's only been here 6 months. But I think that being able to say, hey, live streaming is here. It is part of business. It is now part of life. People are sharing. There's just a plethora. I'm having trouble with Periscope because unless it's something that I'm seeing that nobody else can see, I'm trying to find the value. You understand what I'm saying? Like the behind the scene, like I did it one time. I've done probably 100 or so, and I was doing morning motivation, getting everybody all fired up or reading a quote in the morning. And then some mornings there's like 2 people on there, and I less motivated than I was when I started the thing. So that kind of fizzed out a little bit. I'm like, well, what can I do? Maybe I'll do my show every day. I'm like, this is weird because I'm just talking to myself, and I think there's people there. Are there really people there? There's like 2 hearts that popped up over the hour. Like, I don't really know what's going on. So I try to bob and weave through this whole Periscope, trying to figure out what's what. The best one I ever did is I was doing a review for the Ritz-Carlton South Beach, and it was during swim week, and they had a swimsuit show at the pool, and I had like 500 people on the Periscope at the time. Then again, Ritz-Carlton, Miami Beach, swimsuit show, swim week, and I also used the swim week hashtag too. That was the most traction I had gotten. When I say traction, I mean people jumped on and interacted as much. I'm just trying to. Now I know Kim Garsh is just absolutely knocking it out of the parking lot right now. But she again, early adopter to get on there and take her existing model of what already works and integrate new technology into that by providing value. Masterful, in my opinion. I'm just not that smart. I'm not as smart as Kim.
Oh, stop it. But I think you bring up a great point, which is you have to figure out, first of all, if live streaming even makes sense for your business, because there is that perception that, oh, it's the new shiny toy. We've got to jump on board. We got to be a part of this. And no, not necessarily. If it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't fall into supporting your overall social media goals, your strategy, just what you're working towards within your business, you need to know the why behind it before you dive in. And I think that's where a lot of people run into that challenge of, well, what do I do with it? What do I talk about? And it could just be that it's not the perfect fit for you right now. There might be, other ways for you to get in front of your audience and do that at scale. And what I mean by that is not feel as if it's overwhelming or heavy or burdensome, which, live streaming definitely can be. There's a lot of work. I know Blab can make it feel as if you just kind of jump on camera and you're ready to go. But I know, Sebastian, you are doing video constantly. And I can only imagine the hundreds of hours you have put into just the thought process alone of the content and the context that's going to go around that, not to mention all, the editing and behind the scenes stuff, but just getting prepared to be on camera is a lot of work. So you really have to consider how much time do you have? And can you be consistent once you actually get into it? Because that's the key too. You mentioned that, where if you're not going to be able to consistently show up, don't do it at all.
Right. Yeah, that is true. And I've been guilty so many times. I started and stopped my podcast about 15 times. And it's just because in the early days, there really wasn't any monetizing your podcast back then. But, it was consistent in content. Now you've got the ability to actually create content, build a following, market to that following through strategic, sponsorships, which is the end result of this digital. I mean, when I'm out here doing this Foodie Buzz stuff and Travel Buzz stuff, and even the show now, so it's people, hey, listen, I've seen your show. Want to get someone on, may open a door of an opportunity for me down the road of where I'm at until I get it monetized. But the Foodie Buzz, the Travel Buzz stuff, that's just paying your dues until the brands start calling you instead of you calling them. I mean, they call me for free food and free hotel rooms all day long, and that's cute and everything. But you can't take those hotel rooms and the dinner to the bank. So that at some point in time, there has to be a way to monetize that thing. But, you run into the same challenge too, that market saturation now, and also now hotels will comp your entire stay if you've got X amount of followers, or there's specific trips and campaigns that are put together. But I think that brands are starting to turn the corner. I read a stat the other day that I think 21.5% of marketing budgets are going to social now, which I was like, wow, that was pretty aggressive. And it came from somebody viable. I don't remember who it was, but I thought, wow, remember when it was like 10? And I was like, wow, half the budget, watch out. So the fact that brands are understanding it, but I think there's working in the influencer space and the blogger space is a no-brainer for brands. And I just think the brands just don't understand that. I think they say it's either we have to hire a celebrity, we can't afford that, or we just market on our own and figure it out. They don't look at the in-betweens. And I consider myself an in-between because I'm not a celebrity yet. But that's powerful. Why? Because if you make bow ties, right? I'm probably a good guy to hire to talk about your bow ties and wear your bow ties. Why? Because I wear bow ties everywhere I go and I create content everywhere I go. That starts to gel with brands and starting to understand. But at the same time, it also has to, what does that look like for the brand? What does that convert to? I mean, we get into this numbers talk constantly, and I know you have the conversation constantly. You have to, being in the space, and that is how do you truly extract a return from your social media efforts if you're a small business that only has a spend of $1,000 or $2,000 a month to be able to create and manage content? Like, what are some ways that businesses can do it? My only answer is take your existing way you generate business through marketing and advertising and referrals and whatever it may be, and tie it in to your social media strategy. That way, once someone finds you on Facebook, you're now a believer. Like you're okay. People can actually find my business and I can convert it. But I mean, I break it down in that elementary example because I'm not hire Sebastian, hire SocialBuzzTV. We're off to the races and we're going to be Facebook rich in 90 days. This stuff takes time.
Yeah. Well, and that's an excellent point, is it does take time. And so you've got to know that this is a commitment. As a small business, you've got to be committed to the long haul, that it's not going to happen in 30 or 60 or 90 days. And you've also got to know, you have to be very, very clear on how and why you're using social media. And I think that's another big one. You know, I mentioned, why are you using live streaming, but why are you using social media? Is it because it's the thing that you everybody's telling you have to be, have to be on Facebook, or you have to be on Twitter, and you've really got to take a big step backwards and figure out, why are you using social media? Because if you don't know the why behind your use, it's going to get so frustrating so fast. It's that scenario where you're just throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it sticks, and nothing's working, because you haven't really taken the time to clearly understand how it supports your business, and then how you are going to generate those leads. So the next step is then how it supports your business is based off of what your business goals are. And so what are you looking to achieve? Are you just looking to create awareness? Are you hoping to connect with customers, maybe offer better customer support? Are you looking to generate leads? Are you looking to get people actually walking into your local business? So understanding what you're trying to get out of it is going to be critical to how you actually use it as well. And then it's understanding, getting into the head of your target audience, and where are they spending their time? Where are they hanging out? And then what are they talking about? And then being committed to showing up there day in and day out. And I know, Facebook gets still a lot of flack these days of, it's a pay to play, and organic reach is dead, and, yada, 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 the same things we've heard. But the reality is it still works. It still works if you work it, and if you have a solid plan in place. And I think that's where a lot of small businesses fall down in that entire process, is just really jumping in, diving in, without having an idea of why they're using social media in the first place.
Yeah, I think too many people are just doing it. Why? Because somebody told me I need to be there. I need to be doing it. Or, it's Facebook. There's a billion users on there. There's got to be some gold in them hills somewhere,
Right.
And instead of, my story and my consistent message is that, social media has always been around. These tools showed up 10 years ago to allow us to become digitally addicted, and now be able to communicate with people at our fingertips, and be able to do what we've always done as far as running our business. But now we can tell the story in a more creative and effective and instant way. And if you tell a story through a creative way that provides value, you make emotional connections with people. If you make emotional connections with people, they spend money with you. And that is the reality of really where we're at. Do they always spend money with you? No, and there lies the rub, right? That's the one setback. Wait a second. So I create content and I'm providing value, and I'm engaging with an audience that may never spend $1 with me. Yes, that's correct. Because they may know somebody, their sphere of influence. So for example, I created an event for a client. They're having a holiday party tonight, and I just invited my personal network of like 280 people, but the one-by-one deal on Facebook. But people I knew were in Miami, people I knew were networkers, people I knew would actually go and show up. And I invited 280 people, or 230 people. 38 people said they would go. 30 people said they were interested in going. And what that meant to me is that the 238 people, every time I was able to post something as far as an update, those people get notified. Then when they say they're going, they're interested, their friends get notified as well. And they can go in and invite their friends. And all this was done, but just one person, right? So the idea is, what would happen if I had 100 people do that same exact thing, right? Just say, I'm interested, and click share, and say, meet me on Miami Beach to network for a holiday party with the chamber, right? So that was all organic, right? What happens when you start to promote that? I think the combination of the two coming together still work for a brand. You don't have to be spending $1 billion on Facebook advertising. But if you want to get some extended movement above and beyond the movement that you have. Like, for example, I use the example of BNI Miami. It's a client of mine I was telling you about earlier this week. And we have 39 chapters. That's 1,200 members. And we have 5 chapters actively utilizing social media, right? That was until the new sheriff arrived with the bow tie, right? So now, they said, well, how do we grow our reach? How do we grow our awareness? And how do we impact chapter growth? And I'm like, well, what sells BNI memberships right now? The members. They're the ones they are your volunteer sales force and marketing arm, just by speaking about their experience and wanting to be able to grow their individual chapter. Now, I got excited about that. Why? Because safety's in numbers, okay? 1,200 people. If I can have half of those people, okay, let's just break it down to a third of those people, at least understand the simple idea of just talking about their lives or what they're currently doing, or an event that's coming up, or that you show up at 6:45 once a week like a lunatic with 35 other people to exchange business. And because of that, you have a thank you for closed business for X amount of dollars for 2015. Anybody understands that language? Anybody does. If I tell you, Rebekah, listen, I know I'm in the Southern California area as well. You may have heard of BNI. You may have been in it before. You've never been in a chapter like mine, okay? I've been getting business. I'm developing relationships. I met a nice girl I've been dating. Like, it's been incredible. It's awesome. You just got to go check it out. In fact, come and you can be my guest next week. You go, okay, fine, I'll give it a shot, right? We're in a similar space, so you're going to be occupying a similar category, whatever the case may be. When I tell you that I was able to find thank you for closed business, is how they actually specifically reference it, a specific amount for a year, you're more enticed to be able to go and join that chapter, right? And this is just socializing with you. How I got off on this tangent of BNI is beyond me, but look, squirrel. My point was that's how we're segueing back in here. The point is, brands that have an existing sales force, employees, customers, being able to penetrate those people that you're already talking to and get them talking through your social networks is a great way to organically still get people active. I think that was my original thought, and then I just went way off.
Oh yeah, no, there is so much power in being able to tap into that network. In fact, we talked about this last night. I co-founded a Twitter chat with Ann Tran and Diana Adams called Influencer Chat. And last night we talked about how to use Twitter chats to grow your influence. And we talked about brands and how brands are really tapping into things like Twitter chats and using Twitter, using live streaming to listen, hear what people are talking about, but actively get yourself into that conversation. So you start to make those connections. It's just like old school networking, like you're talking about, where any business can start to make those connections with people that are out there. They're talking about the same thing you are. They're sharing the same type of content. They're creating the similar type of content to what you're creating. And now all of a sudden, you're building those relationships and supporting each other. I started my first blog in 2004. So blogging has really been the backbone of my business. I love to write. Content marketing, inbound marketing is really my
And your
focus.
content's awesome.
Well, thank you. But I grew my business in the same exact way, my connections in that same exact way, where you're just making those connections with like-minded people, with people that are out there doing something very similar. And I don't see them as competition. I see them as that extended marketing force, where they're able to help me get my content in front of people that I would have never been able to without their assistance, without their reach. So it's really understanding who these people are that you can start to build those very beneficial connections. That's a win-win for both of you, and allow them to help you. And I think that's a key for small businesses too, is people want to support you. They want to help your business grow. They want to see you succeed. but they don't know how because you haven't told them how to help you. So
Right.
Once you really understand who your audience is, where they're spending their time, then it's really training them on how they can help you by telling them over and over and over again. And where people miss the whole point of that is they think that equals spamming and shoving out a whole bunch of promotional content, when in reality, it's just about getting to know people, taking that next step of asking questions, going a little bit deeper, and using social media to be able to elevate the conversation around your company. And then all of a sudden you see that start to take off like wildfire, where you've built these connections all over the place through various different channels, and people are sharing your content. And now all of a sudden your content is getting in front of more people. And that's where it comes back to having that strategy around your content so that everything that's getting shared rolls up into something bigger, rolls up into what your overall goal is, whether you're driving them over to your blog so that you can capture subscribers, so that you're building up a list, or whether it's that, you're driving them over to your Facebook page because that is really the hub of your social media marketing. So really understanding, what is it that you're trying to achieve with all of this content that you're creating, rather than that mindset of just running around all over the place every single day, randomly creating stuff or sharing stuff. Because we know, you could spend hours out of your day retweeting and tweeting and scheduling, or liking and sharing and commenting to no avail. If you don't know what it is that you're trying to accomplish in that hour a day that you're spending on social media. So it's just, for me, nothing should happen without a strategy behind it, and really understanding where you're trying to get, where are you right now? And where do you want to be? And obviously, we're at the end of yet another year. I cannot believe how fast this year flew by. And such a great opportunity to just take a little bit of extra time and assess how you used social media in 2015, and you got to take a really good hard look at it. You have to be pretty critical. You have to be a little hard on yourself and okay with that, to say, oof, I sucked here, or I really fell down here on the follow-up, or I wasn't consistent enough here, or I should have gotten a lot better return on the amount of energy I put into this. And figure out, what should you scrap in 2016? What would you do all over again and do a whole lot better? And then where can you really, really, really drive those results in 2016? So it's always exciting to me, end of the year, New Year's, we have that chance to start fresh all over again. But I think you have to be okay with things not being okay, with looking at, what did I do wrong and what did I do right, and what can I do more of that was right, and what can I do away with, and being okay with that too, letting go of stuff that just isn't working.
Sure. Well, I think that, most brands or small businesses specifically can be okay with knowing that they're doing social media right, per se, if they're actually in the race. If you're creating content, you're telling your story, you're effectively communicating what you do and what your brand's all about through that valuable content, that's the first step. So if you're not even doing that and you evaluate your year, the biggest gaps you're probably going to find are the times that you weren't creating any content or doing anything pertaining to social media. I hear it all the time, and that is, I'm not doing anything, or I'm not doing as much as I should. Which I always love to hear. That just creates a new opportunity for us to further the conversation. But storytelling is where it's at. And you're in business for a reason. You got there somehow. And behind that's a story. And that's usually where I start. I work with a lot of solopreneurs, a lot of attorneys that have left the big firm to do their own thing. And then we've got different unique things like, B&I. This whole B&I thing is just a completely different animal. But I love that. I get excited about that because that's me pulling people into the 21st century, which I love. What they do works. It's always worked. The system works, but what would happen if we put all this new technology into play too? How much easier would life be because of it, and how much better would the results be? So, getting in the race. I'll never forget Gary Vee saying that one time. If you're a small business, if you're a solopreneur, don't worry about how fast you're running the race. Just make sure you're in the race, and I think a lot of people still aren't. So, of course, people that are on this blab right now, if you're a small business owner and you're on this blab right now, you're probably in the game. But, well, I just unlocked the seat. We got a couple minutes here. I know you got to run to another blab. It's a blab Wednesday here, huh?
It is. It's a busy blabbing kind of day. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some comments here. Jody said, always great information. What's happening, Jody? Let's see here. We had somebody ask a question earlier. Periscope can throw you off with all the hearts and comments. It totally can. Or it can feed your ego. One of the two there. The social barber said, big brands don't seem like they have been doing a good job live streaming. What do you think? Well, they don't know what the hell they're doing. That's the problem. I mean, and that's not all true to social barber because Applebee's, of which I had the privilege of being a part of, for their Taste the Change campaign, absolutely knocked it out of the park and right back into the parking lot with being able to delegate influencers across the nation and then live stream all day with Vincenzo and Fanzo and the very lovely Sunny D. That was a great campaign. Why? Because I got free lunch all I had to do was go stream myself eating that lunch. And I ended up on Applebee's.com for 35 minutes talking about live streaming and big brands. So some big brands are engaged. In fact, I got really excited. They sponsor Monday Night Football. Yeah. Because it was like Taste Change this, Taste Change Applebee's. And I thought, wait a second, 6 months ago, they got me in the bow tie on there and on the whole. So it shows that new media and traditional media really is starting to take flight. But hats off once again to Applebee's for.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well. And just their listening skills on social media. Every time I mention them, especially within a Twitter chat, man, they are there and they are on it. It is amazing to me what a great job they do. But yeah, I can think of a lot of different brands that are doing a really great job with not just live streaming, but other, social networks such as, Snapchat, which a lot are avoiding. But
I'm a newbie. I'm a newbie snapper.
Yeah, a newbie snapper. Yeah, I'm not much of a snapper myself, but that's okay. It's
growing on me.
Good. Yeah.
Once you start to follow a few good snappers, you're like, this is really cool.
It is. It's fun. And I think brands are really seeing that there are opportunities in these, dependent on probably their demographics, obviously, the type of brand that they are, and knowing that is, that's where their audience is hanging out. Sure. And it's exciting for me. I've been, in sales and marketing for over 20 years now. And it's exciting to me to see the merge of traditional and digital marketing. When I first started, it was all just traditional marketing. And so my business really evolved off of being able to help business owners take that established offline presence that they had created and transition that into an online presence. And it's happening more and more now where people are getting more comfortable with embracing digital marketing all together, and really being able to leverage it. And now working alongside Post Planner, which is
you took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say let's close things out with chatting about Post Planner because I love Post Planner. I think it's a product that the market has been waiting for, where it actually thinks for you a little bit, and I love it. I get the best engagement from Post Planner posts, but I'm not going to let that secret out yet.
That's fantastic. Awesome to hear. And yeah, they, just as you talk about the C-level from that perspective, man, everybody embraces new media and just diving into live streaming, especially. That's, our blab in 10 minutes is with Post Planner, and they are all about just that taking that experience, that customer service, that ability to get one-on-one with your users, with your target market, to a whole different level. And I can tell you, we have had just a phenomenal experience with Blab so far. I think on our first one, we had close to 500 people on our Blab. Yeah, and last week, I think it was 300, maybe pushing 400. So it's been...
Well, I'm a Post Planner customer, so... maybe I'll have to join the show one week.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. Yeah, we would love to have you come on and chat. And I say all of that because I think there are so many different ways that you can use social media to make better connections, to build those stronger alliances. And as Jody said, based off of your conversation about BNI, it's all about networking. And I think that's where we get tripped up, is we think it has to be difficult. We have to do something different than what we were doing all those years offline. And it's the exact same scenario. You're just going out and you're talking, you're creating conversations. I always joke about
being human. Imagine that.
Yes, about all those years of going to BNI and chamber meetings and all those different networking events. Sure. And imagine if you walked in with a bullhorn and just started shouting about your business. What would people do? Probably
security.
Get her out of here.
Yeah.
Likewise, you're not going to do that on social media. You're going to come in, you're going to get to know people, you're going to start talking, you're going to learn what it really makes them tick, what their business is all about. You're going to ask questions. So it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be brain surgery by any means to be effective. It just has to be strategic, and it has to be consistent.
Sure.
Those are the two biggest things.
Strategic and consistent. And on that note, I think we got to leave it on that note. That's some solid advice to a small business owner, solopreneur, brand manager, marketing department that are just now getting the reins of social going. Strategic and consistent. Rebekah, thank you so much for your time and for hanging out. It's always great to see you. Literally.
Oh, no, I know. Finally. Yeah.
I know. I missed you in Miami. You were right around the corner. That was a hectic week, but I'm sure we're going to meet in real life one of these days here.
That's right. In real life. Stealing from Sue. There you go.
Yes. I love. Yeah, absolutely. She's got that whole sign thing down. I need to get a social media sucks sign for my back. I'm talking to Sue about that.
You need to talk to her about that.
I totally do. Do. Thanks again for your time and for hanging out. Always great content. Keep doing what you're doing. I enjoy following you. I love your content. You're
likewise.
Always.
Likewise. Thank you, Sebastian. I'm always excited to be here and chatting with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Talk soon. All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So we're talking about awesome content. We're talking about social media. That is what the Social Media Sucks show is all about. If you happen to just stumble on this show and you have no idea who I am, my name is Sebastian Rusk. I'm a social media strategist. I wrote a book called Social Media Sucks. If you don't know what you're doing, that's that right there. And we do the show once a week, twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, depending on how many of our awesome friends show up and want to join us on the show. Once again, big thanks to Rebekah Radice. Make sure you're following her online. I really enjoy her content. I learned a lot from her. We had a chance to connect a few years back. She was on my podcast. Anyway, we do this each and every week. So you got show ideas, thoughts, ideas, concerns. You want to complain about my bow tie? Drop me a tweet at Seb Rusk. My email address is srusk@socialbuzztv.com. I'm Sebastian Rusk signing off here in the Social Media Sucks Show studio. We'll talk to you next time.